Dust on the Mountain by Ruskin Bond. Part 5. The Loudest Motor Horn. A horn blared, shattering the silence of the mountains, and the truck came round the bend in the road. A herd of goats scattered left and right. The goat herds cursed as a cloud of dust enveloped them, and then the truck had left them behind and was rattling along the bumpy, unmetalled road to the quarries. At the wheel of the truck, stroking his grey moustache with one hand, sat Pritam Singh. It was his own truck. He had never allowed anyone else to drive it. Every day he made 2 trips to the quarries, carrying truckloads of limestone back to the depot at the bottom of the hill. He was paid by the trip, and he was always anxious to get in 2 trips every day. Sitting beside him was Bisnu, his new cleaner. In less than a month, Bisnu had become an experienced hand at looking after trucks, riding in them, and even sleeping in them. He got on well with Pritam, the grizzled 50-year-old Sikh who boasted of 2 well-off sons, one a farmer in the Punjab, the other a wine merchant in far-off London. He could have gone to live with either of them, but his sturdy independence kept him on the road in his battered old truck. Pritam pressed hard on his horn. There was no one on the road, neither beast nor man, but Pritam was fond of his horn and liked blowing it. He boasted that it was the loudest horn in northern India, although it struck terror into the hearts of all who heard it, for it was louder than the trumpeting of an elephant. It was music to Pritam's ears. Pritam treated Bisnu as an equal, and a friendly banter had grown between them during their many trips together. "One more year on this bone-breaking road," said Pritam, "and then I'll sell my truck and retire." "But who will buy such a shaky old truck?" said Bisnu. "It will retire before you do." "Now don't be insulting, boy. She is only 20 years old. There are still a few years left in her." And as though to prove it, he blew the horn again. Its strident sound echoed and re-echoed down the mountain gorge. A pair of wild fowl burst from the bushes and fled to more silent regions. Pritham's thoughts went to his dinner. "Haven't had a good meal for days," he grumbled. "Haven't had a good meal for weeks," said Bisnu, although in fact he looked a little healthier than when he had worked at the cinema's tea stall. "Tonight I'll give you a meal in a good hotel, tandoori chicken and pulao rice." He sounded his horn again as though to put a seal on his promise. Then he slowed down because the road had become narrow and precipitous, and trotting ahead of them was a train of mules. As the horn blared, one mule ran forward, another ran backwards. One went uphill, another went downhill. Soon there were mules all over the place. Pritam cursed the mules, and the mule drivers cursed Pritam, but he had soon left them far behind. Along this range all the hills were bare and dry. Most of the forest had long since disappeared. "Are your hills as bare as these?" asked Pritam. "No, we still have some trees," said Bisnu. "Nobody has started blasting the hills as yet. In front of our house there is a walnut tree which gives us 2 baskets of walnuts every year. And there are apricot and other fruit trees in the village. But it was a bad year for fruit. There was no rain, and the stream is too far." "It will rain soon," said Pritam. "I can smell rain. It is coming from the north. The winter will be early. It will settle the dust, I hope. I'm tired of dust." Dust was everywhere. The truck was full of it. The leaves of the shrubs and the few trees were thick with it. Bisnu could feel the dust under his eyelids and in his mouth, and as they approached the quarries, the dust increased. But it was a different kind of dust now, whiter, stinging the eyes, irritating the nostrils. They had been blasting all morning. "Let's wait here," said Pritam, bringing the truck to a halt. They sat in silence, staring through the windscreen at the scarred cliffs only a short distance down the road. There was a sharp crack of explosives, and the hillside blossomed outwards. Earth and rocks hurtled down the mountain. Bisnu watched in awe as shrubs and small trees were flung into the air. It always frightened him, Not so much the sight of the rocks bursting asunder as the trees being flung aside and destroyed. He thought of the trees at home, the walnut, the chestnuts, the oaks and pines, and wondered if one day they would suffer the same fate, if his mountain range would become a desert like this particular range. No trees, no grass, no water, only the choking dust of mines and quarries.